Okay, so guys, if you remember, a couple weeks ago, we covered a story where a courageous gentleman told or asked or talked to Joe Biden in a town hall at an immigration discussion, and he said, hey, look, under Obama, 3 million people got deported, which is still the record of any president ever. Trump is yet to top it. And he said, when you become president, are you going to carbon copy, so to speak, Mr. Obama's policies, and or will you stop the deportation? Will we stop the deportation of families? And Joe Biden looked at him and said, no, I'm not going to stop it. The guy continued to go on and talk more about how it's important that that not be a good answer. And he looked at him and said, vote for Trump. Vote for Trump. Telling an immigrant family to vote for Trump is always a classy move, as always. So that guy and that story, well, what happened? Well, he has been hired by the Bernie Sanders campaign in the meantime. So let's talk about that. An immigration's right protester whose recent confrontation with Vice President Joe Biden made headlines was hired this week by rival Bernie Sanders campaign. What I just said. Rojas hiring prompted criticism. Now, this is the interesting part of this, is that this guy gets hired for all intents and purposes. He's a very effective labor immigration organizer. He's qualified for the job that he's been hired for in every respect, and people are not happy with that, so I'm going to continue. Biden supporters and some independent political analysts who accuse the Sanders campaign of promoting someone who has personally attacked a Democratic rival. Wow, I would love those people to exist in 2016 with all the Hillary Clinton surrogates that attacked Bernie Sanders personally. That I remember the one time, that still haunts me to this day, is that one individual in New York who technically wasn't connected to the campaign, but was connected enough that he had a picture with Hillary Clinton. We know the price that it takes to get one of those done. But of course, he was completely separate, who right before the New York primary happened, he went to all the New York primary pages on Facebook for Bernie Sanders, posted child pornography on all of those pages, and then reported those pages for child pornography to Facebook. About 200,000 likes worth of pages got shut down just like that, right as turnout's supposed to happen. Those are very important. So again, like, if they say that they care drastically about Bernie Sanders, and the view of this person attacking Biden, I'm going to call bullshit, because it is bullshit. So Sanders has a history of hiring activists to join his ranks. His deputy press secretary is an undocumented immigrant. They go through some tweets that happened from Tom Watson. Democratic campaigns shouldn't do this. Julia Terreso just learned that the guy who was protesting Biden rallies over Obama's record on deportation, that he was hired as a Bernie Sanders Latinx organizer in Iowa, and going on to say, any politician who tells you to vote for someone else, then when you confront them on their record, does not under any circumstances deserve your vote. Does not under any circumstances deserve your vote. This is great news for the Sanders campaign. So at least in this article from the Inquirer, they're getting a little back and forth, which is nice, which is unusual, I suppose. And this was interesting. It goes on to say that 1/3 of Biden supporters, I should say, pick Sanders as their second choice. We've talked about that a lot, how Bernie Sanders has the number one second choice preference of Biden supporters. So Biden leaving the race is an enormous benefit to Bernie Sanders. So there's a bit of overlap in these people anyway. And in March, this goes back to another thing that happened in a similar way. Also harkens back to what happened with Cenk Uygur. In March, the Sanders campaign had to defend its hiring of veteran investigative journalist David Sirota as senior advisor and speechwriter. Sirota had been blasting other Democrats on Twitter and in columns at The Guardian prior to his hiring. The hires prompted critics to recall the fallout of the 2016 primary. It's so funny how all the Clintonite people in 2016 are like, oh man, don't you remember that terrible time when all those Bernie bros attacked us on every chance we get? And then
they're still having nightmares about it.
And then we look at them and go, yeah, but you like literally institutionally destroyed them, knocked people out of campaigns, and like again, Cenk Uygur, like, they literally did this to Cenk Uygur successfully, like just like a couple weeks ago, and they're like, it's crazy that this would ever happen to us. We have the monopoly on this. Only we get to do it to those lesser people and lesser candidates.
What kind of accent is that, Daniel? I'm really curious.
Pompous.
Okay, got
pompous.
it.
That's Daniel's pompous. I do want to point out on the Bernie Bros thing, one of my favorite developments on that is over time what ended up happening was it became like a boy who cried wolf situation a lot. And people would be like, I just can't take it anymore. The Bernie Bros are attacking me. And people will look through their like statuses and tweets and whatnot and be like, who got under this person's skin? I don't even know who this person is so attacked by. And people started saying, hey, you know, we'll come to your defense. Who's, you know, hey, Bernie fans want to, you know, police our own. Who is this? We'll talk to them. And they're like, oh, you're attacking me now. Oh, okay. And then it just became like, all right, if you say that, we want receipts. We want to see
I've
what
had those
triggered
online
you.
experiences personally, and I've just had to let it go. And I just say, okay, no, like I've been told that I'm invalidating people's feelings, and I'm just like, no, that's not exactly what I'm doing. I'm having a conversation here, but okay. And you just like, I have to let those go. My question about this is, did Biden not get the memo that we're supposed to vote blue no matter who?
No. Well, again, Biden doesn't get memos like Trump. He probably needs them to have his name on them or something and read to him, but then he forgets it. I don't know. Now, again,
He
like
gets the family around the record player first.
Yes, exactly. If it's not around a record player, if you have to put it in vinyl or it doesn't matter. So I think on this note, this is interesting for a couple reasons. First, good on Sanders to hire a guy who seems to be qualified for the position that he's being hired for. Seems good. But, you know, screw everyone who's like, oh, this hurts my precious little feelings.
Well, and not only that, it's, you know, it's unlikely, and, you know, certainly anybody knows, correct me if I'm wrong, it's unlikely that Bernie Sanders or any of his staffers saw that man question Biden and then say, you know what, we got to go hire him. He probably applied for the job and had all of the background and experience to actually get the job. Like, that's how that works.
Yeah, it's like this guy is like, okay, so let's just go with the events in order. Hey, I am a immigration advocate. I'm advocating for immigrants so that they can have successful integrations into the U.S., et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, let me go talk to these presidential candidates and ask them very tough questions because I want them to shift their viewpoint to what I want as an activist, which is kind of duh. That's how activism works. And so goes to Biden. Biden gaffes terribly, sticks his own foot in his mouth, and then shoves the foot into his mouth further with his other foot. So now there's 2 feet in his mouth with 2 different comments. And the guy's just like, look, that he responded terribly to a pretty soft, like we covered this. It wasn't like he was like, screw you, Biden, you're doing terrible. He was just like, hey, look, this is the thing. I'd like you to do this thing. Vote for Trump. I mean, this thing. Don't vote for, you know. And so now everyone's in a tizzy because he got hired because he's good at his job. I mean, again, this guy's good enough at his job that he asked benign questions to Biden and made him lose probably half a point of Latino support with just that one comment. And all these people that themselves are, I'm sure if you look back in their history, have attacked personally. Because their entire point is like, how dare he hire someone who has had opinions in the past about people that we like. And I think that's really what you're talking about when people say they're not doing the thing. What they really mean to be saying is, you don't agree with me, therefore you're attacking me, therefore I'm the victim because I'm supposed to always be right. And that's just all that's happening.
Absolutely.
What's the position that he's holding in the campaign? What's his title?
Let me look. Is
it an outreach position? Is that what it is essentially?
He is a let me just look it up real quick. It's just go to some.
Anyway. Yeah. So he's the kind of guy.
Okay, here's what I'm looking it up. Yeah, I found. Okay,
leaving your table at a restaurant and getting your food while you're
Yeah. So the other thing is this guy worked in the Obama campaign. I should add that in there. Yeah, he's just an organizer. He's a Latinx community organizer. That's the correct word.
There you go.
So just basic, like local, like, hey, help in Iowa. And again, he worked for Obama, which again is even more ironic based on the statements that happened. So hey, I'm gonna flip the script real quick before we move on to the next story. I'm gonna say to the Democrats, how dare you use your whiteness, as I'm sure many of these people complaining are very, very white, to attack this Latin person who's trying to help immigrants. It's like, you can flip the script. My point is that this is stupid. This is very stupid. You can flip the script. Let the guy work for Bernie. Stop complaining. Stop being annoying. Stop punching water.
I do want to add your Biden foot and mouth comment reminded me of a saying an old friend of mine used to use, and I can use it for Biden. I'll just say Biden only opens his mouth to exchange feet.
That's amazing.
That's great.
Awesome.